unavailability of therapeutics to cure retinitis pigmentosa, which I will refer to as RP, has opened the door for researchers to come up with an alternative treatment. Later in the presentation, I will explain RP and the recent development in addressing this disease, but for now I will briefly explain the physiology of the eye. The eye is complex and is involved in one of the most fundamental processes of human life, the ability to see. Essentially, when you see an object, the light travels from that object to the cornea, which then passes through the aqueous humor, coming onto the lens, passing through the vitreous humor, where it is then stimulating the retina. That stimulation then sends an electrical impulse via the optic nerve to the brain. When you see objects at a close distance and at a long distance, the lens changes shape in order for you to perceive a sharp image. This is referred to as accommodation. Here the two images are just outlining the refractive power of the lens during the two circumstances. On the table behind me is the relative structures of the eye and the respective roles, but I'm going to focus on the neurotunic region of the eye, the retina, highlighted in red, and the associated layers involved in the transduction of light. So here's just a microscopic image of the retina, and as you can see, the retina has photoreceptor cells, the rods and cones, and it also contains bipolar and ganglion cells. Above the retina, the vascular tunic is responsible for the nourishment of the photoreceptor cells. And also, it is also important to note the optic disc is known as your blind spot because it has no photoreceptor cells. Rods and cones of the retina contain photopigments, opsin and retinal, and is transduced when struck by light. I'll explain the process of phototransduction. So firstly, rhodopsin is activated and is changed from cisretinal to transretinal, where it is separated from opsin. Secondly, transretinal activates a transducer, a G protein, which activates phosphodiesterase, PDE for short. PDE converts cyclic GMP to GMP, which causes cyclic GMP levels of 4. Ultimately, this closes sodium and calcium channels, and this closure of the channels causes the rod cell to hyperpolarize and turn off, producing the action potential, which is then stimulated to the brain via the optic nerve. RP is a form of inherited retinal dystrophy or degeneration, which ultimately affects the retina's ability to respond to light and undergo the phototransduction pathway, as I explained earlier. Here's just a diagram illustrating the 3 different ways to acquire RP. The picture on the left is the most dominant and the most common one, and as you can see, 2 parents are the carriers, in contrast to the other 2 pictures. These 2 images also outline the inherited genes for RP. So in the image on the left is mutated photoreceptor cells, and this corresponds to the CRB1 gene, and the image on the right here is mutated ocular cells. That corresponds to the gene CBF408. A common symptom for RP is known as tunnel vision, shown by these images. The retina may no longer be able to respond to light, however, other remaining neurons in the eye, like the bipolar and ganglion cells, can be electrically stimulated. This now flows into the recent development of a device known as the Argus 2 retina prosthesis, which is essentially a bionic eye. It is an external system which has a camera compacted into the glasses. So what happens, the camera captures the image, which then sends a signal to the CPU, a video processing unit, which is worn externally. That impulse is then sent to an antenna located at the back of the ear, which then sends an impulse to the electrode array, which is located on the retina, stimulating those loss of photoreceptor cells. So here's just a microscopic image of the electrode array, which I was mentioning earlier, which is sitting on the retina. So clinical trials in the US have proven successful and is now in an advanced stage. Hopefully with more funding, the Argus 2 system will become the novel treatment for many sufferers of RP, especially in Australia today. Thank you.